Welcome to Speakeasy Spirits. Today we've got a new ingredient behind the bar, this Mandarine Napoléon liqueur. They also happen to be running a cocktail contest right now. So let's try it out, use it in a few cocktails, and come up with something that's award-winning. How hard could it be? The Mandarine Napoléon is an orange liqueur made from mandarin oranges, so it could probably substitute anywhere you'd use a triple sec or an orange curacao. It would probably work good in a margarita or a Mai Tai, but before we could come up with a recipe for this, we need to know what it tastes like. It's sweet, a little syrupy. It's got some baking spices and some floral and herbal notes. The mandarin orange flavor is there, but it's not super concentrated. The base spirit in this is cognac, which makes it a curacao, so we're going to compare it to two other curacaos I have. Now, this is usually my go-to, Pierre Fernand dry curacao. It's also sweet, but it has much more bitterness to it. Compared to the Napoleon, it's got fewer of the baking spice notes, but that bitterness helps cut its sweetness a bit. This has got the flavor profile I'd expect in a classic cocktail like a Corpse Survivor No. 2, while the Mandarin has a sweeter flavor, more fruity, might work well in a Mai Tai. And last, we've got the Kuiper Blue Curacao. Special thing about this is it has more blue. It's just sweet. I don't know that I'd identify that flavor as orange. There might be a little hint of orange when it first hits your mouth, and then it's gone. I really wouldn't use this in anything unless for some reason I needed to make a blue cocktail. Now that we know what we're working with, we need to come up with a recipe. This would substitute in anywhere you'd use an orange liqueur, but I don't want to just make a simple substitution. That's not going to win any contests. So thinking out of the box, I want to mix some flavors that you wouldn't expect to go together and see if we can come up with something really good. I'm thinking first we try a Tiki style cocktail. Something with some coconut, some pineapple, but instead of rum, let's swap it out for something really unusual you don't find in Tiki. I've been thinking about this for a couple of days, and I think I want to try a Painkiller variation. Now, Painkiller normally uses orange juice. I want to swap the juice out for the Mandarin liqueur. It also uses cream of coconut, pineapple juice, and normally Navy strength rum. But like I said, I want to do something unusual. So I want to go with green Chartreuse, an herbal liqueur. It's 55% alcohol, just like the Navy strength rum. I think this is going to work. One thing we need to be careful of is making this drink too sweet. Now the Chartreuse is sweetened. It is 55% alcohol, and it is a spirit all on its own, but it's often used like a liqueur because of its sweetness. So we're going to have to cut back the sweetness in some other areas. A Painkiller is normally going to have 1.5 ounces of Navy proof rum, so we're going to cut that back just a little bit and go with 1.25 ounces of the Chartreuse. Now 3 ounces of pineapple juice. Half an ounce of cream of coconut. Now this is where a lot of our sweetness is going to come from. This is basically coconut milk with a lot of sugar in it. And then instead of 3/4 ounce of orange juice, we're going to go with 1/2 ounce of our Mandarin liqueur. Now to cut the sweetness a little more, we're going to use some lime juice. I think about 1/2 ounce should do it. That'll make up for the lost volume in the ingredients we reduced, and also cut back on the sweetness a bit. Half an ounce of lime. I think something that'll also help cut back on the sweetness is some bitters, so we're going to use 3 dashes of Angostura orange bitters. That should also help build up the orange flavors. Now we want to shake that over ice. Shake that for about 15 seconds. And since this is a Tiki inspired cocktail, we're going to use a Tiki mug. Now whenever you're making Tiki, you're going to want crushed ice. And the best place to find crushed ice is Sonic. Unless you want to crush it yourself, just run through the drive-thru and grab some. We'll fill this up about halfway with the crushed ice and strain in our cocktail. We're going to go with the classic Tiki garnish, a sprig of mint. Slap that to wake up the oils. And then we'll also top it with a little bit of grated nutmeg. Add a straw. And there you have our Mandarin Orange Painkiller variation. I think I'm going to call this the Prescription. It's really good. It is on the sweet side like most Tiki cocktails, but not overwhelmingly sweet. This is really more than the sum of its parts. While we're using herbal liqueur, pineapple, coconut, and mandarin, you can taste all of those flavors in there, but they also combine to give it almost a banana taste. It's very tropical, very fresh and fruity. This is definitely a good cocktail and a contender for what I'll submit to the contest, but I don't want to stop at just one. We got to have a couple of choices. I also want to try this Mandarine Napoléon in a classic Prohibition era cocktail, because this is the speakeasy after all. And when you're talking about Prohibition cocktails, you're usually talking about gin. So we're going to start with a barrel rested gin, and then to keep it different and unusual, we're going to add some creme de violet. That's exactly what it sounds like. It's the flavor of violet flowers. Our mandarin liqueur is going to be the sweetener, and we're going to need some lemon juice. So let's start with half an ounce of lemon. One and a half ounces of barrel rested gin. I'm using Chemist, but there are several brands that are now doing barrel rested gins. That's going to add a little oakiness, round out the flavors, give it a little more complexity. Then half an ounce of Mandarin Napoléon. And finally, 1/3 of an ounce of our creme de violet. Now this is an ingredient you use sparingly. A little bit definitely goes a long way. For this, we're going to serve it up in a coupe, but I think we're going to add one more ingredient. That's some absinthe. I use it in a mister here, so we can just spray it on the glass, but you could also just pour some in there and roll it around, then dump out the excess. Now we're going to double strain this. Now the creme de violet is giving it this nice pink color. This is a fairly dry cocktail. I think it could use a little more sweetness. So we're just going to redo this real quick with a 1/4 ounce more of our Napoleon. Just give that another quick shake. I don't think it's a contest winner. For that, I think this is the cocktail I'm going to submit. It's light, fresh, fruity, but it's also herbal, which is something a lot of tiki cocktails are missing, but I personally really like. I think chartreuse and pineapple are already a fantastic combination, but then you add in the orange notes and the coconut, and this becomes the best pina colada you've ever had. When you go to take a drink, you get the smell of the mint and the nutmeg that's on top, and that really enhances the baking spices that were in this Mandarine Napoléon. I think it's a great combination. And there you have it, my submission to the Mandarine Napoléon contest running on differenceguide.com, the prescription. Contest deadline's in just a couple of days, so if you want to see how I did, check out differenceguide.com. The results are going to be posted there, and if I win, I'll definitely let you guys know. I hope you liked the video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.